Hello, my name is Bill, and I'll be putting together a series of presentations over the next few weeks regarding the CompTIA IT Fundamentals or ITF Plus exam. This is the very first, one of the very first certifications that many people may receive in IT. It is an entry-level certification. There are other entry-level certifications from companies like Google, and I think Microsoft has some. So again, this is not the only one out there, but it is one of the more popular. So again, I'll be covering this within the next few weeks on this channel. Oh, sorry about that. So this series of videos will be based on this book, the all-in-one CompTIA IT Fundamentals Exam Guide. I personally like the all-in-one guides. I think they're actually well written. I've used others that I also find real well written from a company called Cybex, and I've used others out there for different certifications. One thing I also like about this book is the author Mike Myers. I've read a couple of his books, and he tends to be fairly accurate and spot on in terms of his content. So I highly recommend. I do recommend this book. It's not the only one out there, but it's the one these videos are going to be based on. Additional information about the certification will be found at this web URL. I'll have these in the comments below. Here's just a quick picture of the book. Again, so if you see this in the Barnes & Noble, some other bookstore, if you're buying it online, this is what you're going to look for. Be sure it's the second edition. About the videos, this series of videos, it's up to you to read the book. The authors actually recommend you read this book twice. That's up to you whether you want to read it once or twice. I don't have any objections to what they say, but I'm not going to read the book to you. If you're looking for someone to go through there and read the book to you, these are the wrong videos. These videos are just a secondary source to balance what you're going to get in that book. So read it, get the book, read it. It's well written, and I didn't see any glaring errors in the book. With all books, you might find a few errors. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me. If I do find them as I'm going through a second time, I will, or third time, I will let you know. I will follow the content chapters. So, for example, we're going to start about an introduction to IT in the next video, and then we're going to hardware, and we're going to work our way through all the chapters in the book. In addition to reading this book and watching the videos, I suggest you find a test bank. These are just a series of questions that you can ask. Again, there are Cybex puts, I believe I saw it with Cybex, they put out a whole book with something like 700 or 800 questions on this exam. Additional study tips. Again, know what's expected of you. I'll highlight this PDF in just a few minutes. Familiarize yourself with the terminology used in this exam. And not just this exam. If you're going to stay in IT, you're going to want to get familiar with the terminology in any exam, any certification exam you take. One of the big complaints I've heard over the years about people taking exams, whether it be from CompTIA, Cisco, Microsoft, I'm doing this for over 30 years in this industry. When we talk about technology that we're using, we're going to use terms like, depending on what you're in, we might talk about MAC addresses or IP addresses, routes, OSPF, EIGRP, whatever we're talking about, it's what we do. And you're going to have to get used to it. Terminology is part of this industry, and the exams put that terminology in there and they expect you to know it. Find your certification exam objectives at the website, and along with the terminology you get in this book, at the very end of that PDF, you can see a list of acronyms. Be familiar with those acronyms. Next, spend time studying. I recommend you spend 1 to 2 hours each day for this exam. And the 1 or 2 hours you'll find for most exams. Some of the really, really tough ones, like your CISSP or CCIE, you'll have to spend more than a couple of hours a day. But for these general level, entry level, all the way up to even some of the more difficult ones like your CCNP. 2 hours a day is a pretty good roundabout number to hit. Find someone that you can ask questions of. Maybe a teacher or professor that's familiar with material, an IT professional. These people can help answer questions that you just don't quite get. And if you can find someone that can answer those questions, that's great. Find them and use them, and then find a way of testing yourself. Those test banks. Just ask as many questions as you can. Take them every night. 10 questions, 20 questions, 30 questions, whatever you can. And if you miss it, you get to a point where you're finding them and you're getting them all right. The better test banks will let you stop asking those questions, but you want to know why you're getting the ones wrong. In fact, you want to know why you're getting them right. If you're just getting it right because you've memorized the question, that's bad. You really want to understand why you're getting the questions right. Also understand these test banks are not going to be the exact questions you're going to get on the CompTIA test. They're testing you for your overall knowledge in the subject area. Here is the PDF you can download at that URL, IT Fundamentals exam. You can download this at the URL I've mentioned in the past couple slides. It tells you about the exam, how it was developed, who CompTIA is, what their policies are. It's a 60-minute exam, 75 questions. Here's the required exam. So when you go to Pearson VUE to sign up, this is the exam you're going to want to take. Your passing score is about 70%, 650 out of 900. And here are the overall domains that you'll be tested on: IT concepts, infrastructure, all the way down to security, and what percentage. So infrastructure is going to be the big one in there at 20%, security is 22%, and then the other ones are falling in somewhere less than that. But you have to know something about all of these areas. And you're going to find out that some of you know, say, security better than you know software. And that's fine. That's normal. Not everyone is going to be an expert at all these areas. And you'll find that through your career, you're going to end up concentrating on 1, 2, maybe 3 of these areas. And then it'll go through the rest of the the PDF will go over the certification topics in general that you want to know, topics and terminology, what this stuff means, how it's used, infrastructure, applications and software, software development, database fundamentals, and security. When it comes back to these infrastructure, keep in mind we're not talking just networks. We're talking printers, cameras, common PCs. This is not an in-depth infrastructure exam. When it comes to development, we're more concerned that you know what types of languages are out there and what they're best used for than we are. You're not going to learn how to program. You're not going to be a Python programmer or a C programmer when you finish with this. It'll be enough for you to know what Python is and what C is, C++ is, what your database fundamentals are, and some basics about security. And at the very end, here are the acronyms. Again, know what these acronyms mean. You're going to get test questions, and they're not going to tell you HDD is a hard drive. They're just going to say, hey, a workstation, you're looking to purchase a workstation, and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, a CPU, a 64-bit CPU, a monitor. What's it missing? And it just, HDD, ROM, firmware, and something else. And it's up to you to realize it's missing a hard drive. So, and they'll just say HDD. It's not going to give you hard disk drive. That's up to you to know what HDD is. And that's just a real bad example of an exam question. But just be aware that does happen. Those are the types of questions you're going to get. If you decide to want to build a lab, CompTIA does have a recommended hardware list, so you can actually go ahead and build a small lab. I'm not going to cover that. The book, you may see some recommendations for doing some things, but again, I'm not going to cover the lab. This is not an exam where you actually need a full-fledged lab to know how to do this stuff. Thank you. Be on the lookout for probably 1 to 2 videos a week, maybe 3 if I'm really adventurous. And we should be able to get through this thing in maybe 6 or 8 weeks. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you.